Hello and welcome to Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up. It's actually not lunchtime. It's mid-afternoon. You could even argue late afternoon. But nonetheless, it is your catch-up on all things Liverpool FC. And it is, of course, your daily reminder that the Reds are Premier League champions. And what a way for the Reds to be acting this summer. Hugo is a Red. He joined up with the squad in Hong Kong, met everybody, got to be involved in some of the jokes. Arne Slot making fun of Ibu, saying, thankfully, we now have a Frenchman in the team that knows how to score a goal. It's always good to see. The lads seem to be having the absolute time of their lives over there. Everybody's very happy. Florian Wirtz looks like a demon in training. Frimpong looks the business. Kirkes looks good. Mamardashvili looks good. Hugo, we'll see. We'll see how he looks when we get the videos. I'm sure it's all going to look very good. And today, and today, poor little Newcastle. Poor little Newcastle. You see, they were so busy doing a victory lap that they never actually looked to see what happened. Because not only did we approach them and say, look, we want Alexander Isak, and we also want Hugo Ekitike, but we'll let you have Hugo. Well, Hugo turned them down, and then we signed him, and now we're back for Isak. But not only that only begins the story of today. So we begin this morning with the news that Alexander Isak did not board Newcastle's flight to Asia, that he was left behind because he was, and I quote, nursing a thigh injury. This is the same thigh injury that allegedly had him training by himself yesterday, that allegedly he had a scan on that showed no injury, but yet Eddie Howe didn't know anything about that injury the day before. And now we know that that injury was absolutely untrue, because Craig Hope reported a couple of hours later that Alexander Isak had told Newcastle he wants to leave. Now, others obviously followed this up, and it's been very carefully briefed that he wants to explore a move away. We all know what's happened. He's told them he wants to join us. There's no exploring. There is one move. It's not to Saudi. It's not to Chelsea. We saw a couple of journalists, obviously briefed by the Toon, try and throw in Chelsea's name. There is one club and one club only, and it's us. And we have the money, and we have the want, and we have the pull to bring in Alexander Isak. Now, the fee will be a British record. It's no doubt it's going to be 125, 130, 135, somewhere in that ballpark. I'd imagine we'll try and do some of it in add-ons. Might not work. But this is trending in one way, and that is that Alexander Isak becomes our new number 9. What does that mean for Hugo? It means that he's probably in a rotation role, which is absolutely fine. The reporting around Hugo's signing was clear. It didn't say he was signed to be our number 9. It was said that we liked his versatility. Now, I think they've overplayed that a bit, because he hasn't really played in a ton of other positions other than as a 9 on very many occasions. But he could play in a front 2 without question. That was one thing that Paul Joyce mentioned in his story, is that they liked his ability to play off a striker. And as I've said in recent days, I do think it's very possible we could move to a front 2 type of setup. Not necessarily 2 right up top, but Isak up front with Mo playing quite close to him. And then we can rotate Hugo with both of them. And that will mitigate the injury risk with Isak, the aging of Mo, and Hugo's own rawness while he develops. And when people say, oh, but why do one if you were doing the other? Well, there's two answers. Number one is we're future-proofing, because Mo Salah has 2 years left in his deal, and he may well leave at that point. So we want to make sure that the club is in the best possible position after Salah, so that his departure is not some enormous hammer blow. And number two, to quote Tommy Shelby, is that because we fucking can, and because we can, we do. Why wouldn't we go and sign him? Yes, Hugo's a very good young player. Isak is arguably the best number 9 on the planet. And you'd have to be very, very silly if you have the money and the player wants to join you not to go and buy that player if the opportunity is there, regardless of who else you have. And there's a lot of crying, of course. You may have looked out your window and seen streams of water just rushing past. You may have thought it had rained heavily or that a river burst its banks, and I'm here to tell you it's not that at all. It's that rival fans are now in full-blown temper tantrum mode because the Reds are acting like a big club. How can Liverpool afford to spend all this money? Well, let's take ourselves on a little walk, will we? You see, transfer spend needs to be looked at in a slightly different way to how we're used to because of profit and sustainability. It's a 3-year window. It's not 1 year, it's 3 years. So if we take a little look, in 23-24, we sign McAllister, Szoboszlai, Endo, and Gravenberch. We sell Fabinho, Henderson, and release a bunch of big money players. Naby, Ox, Bobby, Milner. So that's 6 huge wages gone off the books. None of the players who signed will have been on the type of money that Henderson or Firmino were on, or even Milner, or Fabinho. They might have been on the same type of money as Naby and Ox. So our wage bill shrank massively, but our net spend in that summer was only around 85 million, which is a pittance in comparison to what other clubs have spent. Like Brighton, for example, last summer spent 250 million. Last summer, then, we only signed Chiesa, while selling Carvalho, Clark, Vandenberg, and Harvey Blair, and releasing a bunch of others. We also sold Billy Kimetio and Anderson Arroyo, received very small fees for them. We brought in about 55.5 million. We spent 10 million. So we made a profit of 45 million. We added one kind of sizable wage, but a much smaller wage than those of Thiago, Joel Matip, who both left, and probably not a whole lot more than Adrian was earning. So our wage bill once again went down. It did not go up. It went down considerably for the second summer in a row. Now, bear in mind, we also loaned out a whole ton of players, and we will have received some loan fees over the last 2 years. But over the last 2 years, our net spend was only about £45 million. While declaring record revenues, while becoming the biggest commercial entity in the Premier League, surpassing Manchester United for the first time. So we're on about a 45 million net spend for 2 years there. So you move yourself into this summer. Now, we've been obviously very busy and very aggressive in this window. We knew we had Mamardashvili coming in. Wirtz is in. Frimpong is in, Kirkes is in, Hugo's in, and Pesci's in. That's a 265 million spend. 265 million. Add the 45, you're at 310 million across 3 years. Let's not forget, we've also sold 54 million worth of players. That brings us down to 256 million across the last 3 years. 256 million of net spend across the last 3 years. Now take a look at our squad. One of Costas or Robbo will go. That's another, let's say 10 to 15 million. Harvey will go. That's 35 to 40. So we're somewhere in the 50-55 million range with just those two. Besetic could go, Morton could go. That could be another 30 million. Let's say it's 85 now that we're at for spend. For money coming in, rather. Chiesa will go. Well, that's probably 15. That gets us to 100. Darwin will go. That could be 60. Diaz will go. That could be 60, 65. Ben Doak will go. Almost certainly. That could be 15 to 20. And all of a sudden, the 255 million of net spend across 3 years is reduced to nothing, to about 15 million quid. So that's how we can afford to do this.